Top 10 Naturally Mummified Bodies Found Across the World.
In 2018, a young woman's body was found beneath a Russian reservoir, and it is believed she had been resting there for 2,000 years. The woman, who archaeologists have since dubbed Sleeping Beauty, was found with several interesting items, and she was wearing a silk skirt. She held a pouch of pine nuts, and because her tomb was made entirely of stone, parts of her body didn't decompose. Instead, it was mummified, leaving much of her corpse and her belongings for researchers to find. Several high-value items were found within the tomb, including a beaded belt, a gemstone buckle, a Chinese-style mirror, and a makeup box. The scientists who worked on the site speculated that she might have been a young Han woman who was likely a noblewoman. Her remains were found along Yenisei River's shoreline after a hydroelectric dam upriver caused a significant drop in water level. Archaeologist Dr. Marina Kalinyovskaya, from St. Petersburg's Institute of History of Material Culture, explained that the lower part of the body was especially well preserved. This is not a classic mummy. In this case, the burial was tightly closed with a stone lid, enabling a process of natural mummification.
Three youngsters were found in an amazingly very much safeguarded preserved state on the culmination of Uyayaco Spring of gushing lava in Argentina. The youngsters have since been named the Lady, Uyayaco Boy, and Lightning Girl. The maiden was around 13 years of age while her colleagues were accepted to be somewhere in the range of 4 and 5. The kids were the survivors of human penance and are around 500 years of age. What's amazingly entrancing about these mummies is that proof of their being medicated was found. This was done as a feature of a year-long arrangement of services paving the way to their sacrifice. The disclosure was made when researchers investigated hair tests from the youngsters. This uncovered that they had been given coca leaves and lager. Furthermore, their eating regimen comprised of generally vegetables. However, in the blink of an eye before their demises, they ate the food of the elite. The kids' bodies and dress were staggeringly very much protected, on account of the frosty temperatures and dry air found on the mountain. While they aren't the main Incan mummies found throughout the long term, they are the most well preserved. This has helped archaeologists affirm recorded records of human penance by breaking down how the kids were dealt with, how they passed on, and what they ate right away before their demises. In the 1980s, 6 ladies, a 2-year-old kid, and an infant kid, were discovered when 2 siblings were climbing close to the surrendered Inuit settlement, Kylakitsoq. They were found all together unintentionally when they found a pile of rocks. While the bodies were totally embalmed, the child was, by a long shot, the most intriguing of the bodies. At the point when he was first uncovered, it was accepted to be a doll, yet a more critical look uncovered the body to be that of a little offspring of around a half-year-old. An investigation of the body uncovered that the kid was covered alive, likely because of his mom's passing, leaving nobody who could think about him. The bodies were found in 2 separate graves, which comprised of the cadavers stacked on each other, isolated by creature skins. The 2-year-old kid was found to have Down syndrome and was likely left to kick the bucket of introduction because of his condition. This was a typical practice among the Inuit at that point, as assets couldn't be spent on anybody unequipped for contributing food, dress, or haven. These are cadavers that have been found in peat lowlands, which normally embalm their bodies. The exceptionally acidic water, low temperature, and negligible oxygen save bodies in different states. Some are skeletonized while others hold their skin and inside organs, however their bones are frequently mostly dissolved. Bog bodies have been found from a wide scope of time frames across Europe, yet the most seasoned one found to date is Cashel Man, who kicked the bucket around 4,000 years back in 2000 BC. The fleshed body gave indications of a vicious end, as his spine was broken in 2 spots, he had a wrecked arm, and was hit with a hatchet in his back a few times. Based on where he was found and the seriousness of his killing, archaeologist Eamon Kelly of the National Museum of Ireland accepts that he was killed in the demonstration of penance. At the hour of his passing, It was not unexpected to forfeit youngsters as a custom associated with kingship. Cashleman was somewhere in the range of 20 and 25 years of age, and he was deliberately covered with peat following his demise. He was discovered when a peat processing machine somewhat uncovered him in 2011 at Cashel Marsh.
Somewhere in the range of 1,450 and 1,480, a little youngster of 12 to 15 was relinquished as a contribution to the Incan divine beings. Her body was found in 1995 on Mount Ampado in southern Peru, where she was saved through the frigid temperatures and dry air. The body was altogether solidified when she was discovered, which protected her body and her pieces of clothing. Her skin, tissues, organs, blood, hair, and stomach substance were all very much safeguarded. This made it conceivable to break down her so as to present an uncommon look into Incan culture during her lifetime. A filter uncovered that she ate a dinner of vegetables around 6 to 8 hours before her demise. She was enveloped by an interment embroidered artwork, and her head was embellished with a cap produced using the quills of a red macaw. She was completely dressed, and her pieces of clothing recommend that she was from the capital city of Cusco. An investigation of the body demonstrated she was killed by dull injury to the head, which was the ordinary methods for relinquishing kids at that point. You can see the Ice Maiden, additionally called Mamia Juanita, at the Catholic University of Santa Maria's Museum of Andean Sanctuaries in Arequipa, Peru, where she's been shown since 1996. Somewhere in the range of 1993 and 2010, the remaining parts of 6 men had been found in the Chabad salt mines of Iran. The men were executed when the mine they were working in imploded. Curiously, the 6 men didn't kick the bucket simultaneously. 3 dated to at some point between 247 BC, also 651 AD, while the rest passed on at some point somewhere in the range of 550 and 330 BC. The bodies were saved, fundamentally because of the drying up nature of the salt that buried them. Their bodies were seriously harmed by the breakdowns that executed them, however what remained was embalmed and safeguarded. In the wake of testing the hair of a 1,700-year-old mummy, it was resolved that one man had type V plus blood. Another was found to have tapeworm eggs in his digestive system. This proposes that the man ate crude or half-cooked meat and is the most established known proof of an antiquated intestinal parasite in Iran. The bodies were found with 3 iron blades, a woolen half-band, a length of cowhide rope, earthenware shards, a silver needle, a pecan, and a grindstone. The head and left shoe, with the leg within, Salt Man 1, is in plain view at the National Museum of Iran in Tehran. A human mummy found in North America was found in 1949 in Spirit Cave outside of Fallon, Nevada. Soul Cave Man is accepted to have passed on around 7430 BC. Making him the most established normally embalmed carcass ever found at around 9,400 years old. The body was found inside the cavern by representatives working for the Nevada State Parks Commission while studying expected archaeological destinations endangered to guano mining. The body was enveloped by tule tangling and was wearing shoes. Prior to his demise, which was likely because of a skull crack or filled with pus teeth, he was enclosed by a bunny skin blanket. When the body was found, it was erroneously recognized as being somewhere in the range of 1,500 and 2,000 years of age because of how well the remaining parts were safeguarded. It was kept at the Nevada State Museum's storeroom in Caston City, where it stayed for a large portion of a century. 11 in 1997, the remaining parts were dissected utilizing mass spectrometry, which demonstrated the body's genuine age. By 2016, prosecution brought about the arrival of the remaining parts to the Fallon Paiute Shoshone tribe, which was discovered to be the familial group of Spirit Cave Man. When recovered, the clan reburied them in accordance with its traditions.
is regularly connected with Old Egypt because of the serious methods created by the human progress. That progression required some serious energy, and before the cycle was completely evolved, bodies were covered so as to exploit the climate with the objective of saving them. A mummy found in 1896 is the first pre-dynastic mummy found at Jebilin, Egypt. He is known as Jebilin Man, yet because of the presence of red hair on his head, he's procured the moniker Ginger. Ginger was somewhere in the range of 18 and 21 at the hour of his demise, 3351 to 3017 BC, which dates to the late pre-dynastic period. His body was set in the fetal situation in a shallow grave, which kept it in contact with hot, dry sand. Sand in Egypt contains normally happening natron, permitting the ingestion of the body's water, drying up it. This safeguarded him through characteristic preservation, however it's conceivable he was covered with an end goal to get this going, as counterfeit embalmment implies were, so far, lacking at the time. An examination of the body, which has been in plain view at the British Museum since 1900, showed he had tattoos and was killed. He was likely betrayed by a stone or copper sharp edge, estimating at any rate 5 crawls long. When he was found in 1950, Talland Man's features were so well preserved, he was believed to be a recent murder victim. In reality, he lived during the 4th century BC in Scandinavia. He is one of the most well-preserved bog bodies ever found. Talland Man was found in the Bjeldskobdal peat bog under 6 feet, 2 meters, of peat. He was found in the fetal position and was wearing a pointed sheepskin and wool cap, which was fastened under his chin. He was also wearing a hide belt and thong, but most interesting was the noose made of animal hide drawn tightly around his neck. While much of Talland Man's body showed signs of decay despite his mummification, his head was remarkably undamaged. His facial features are striking, as few mummies are ever preserved well enough to make them out in such detail. Talland Man's final meal consisted of porridge made from seeds and grains. He ate between 12 and 24 hours before his death by hanging, likely done for sacrificial purposes. He is on display at the Silkeborg Museum in Denmark, though only his head is original. The body wasn't preserved in the 1950s, so it has been reconstructed for the museum's display. Ötzi the Iceman was found in the Ötztalps in 1991 and was dated somewhere in the range of 3400 and 3100 BC. Ötzi's body has been saved, on account of the outrageous cold, which helped researchers verify that he was likely murdered. An pointed stone was found in his left shoulder, which would have demonstrated lethal. Ötzi is the most established normal human mummy ever found in Europe. Since he was so all-around protected, he's offered a lot of understanding into Chalcolithic Europe. His stomach substance uncovered the presence of ibex meat, which he probably ate on just a short time before his passing. His digestion tracts uncovered the presence of red deer, spice bread, and chamois meat. He likewise had a whipworm invasion and was debilitated a very long time before his death. Ötzi had 61 tattoos from head to foot at the hour of his passing. He was found with a shroud, coat, belt, stockings, an undergarment, and shoes, all produced using various cow hides. The intricacy of the shoes, which were fairly waterproof, proposes the presence of shoemakers during the Copper Age. Even additionally interesting is Ötzi DNA, which uncovered the presence of 19 hereditary family members by means of the presence of an uncommon transformation, GL91. The Iceman and those 19 offer a typical progenitor, who may have lived 10,000 to 12,000 years prior.